It's unthinkable to me that you have an opportunity in your lifetime to be a professional, that you think about quitting. So you don't quit it, and you don't quit in sports. You retire. You don't get to quit. It's not an option. See, someone told me that a long time ago. That ain't even an option. And the person told me that, he ain't here anymore. He died. This is what's great about sports. This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game. Hello? You play to win the game. You don't play to just play it. That's the great thing about sports. You play to win. And I don't care if you don't have any wins. You go play to win. When you start telling me it doesn't matter, then retire.
Hello, and welcome to episode 2 of the Randall Handles Football Podcast. I'm your host, Randall Tevis. Now, before I get started, I just want to remind everybody, please, if you like what you hear, if you enjoy listening to this, or if you just want to show your boys some support, please subscribe to my channel. Please follow my podcast. I'd greatly appreciate that. And so that way, when these shows come out, you'll be able to follow along and be able to see them right when they come out. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Today on episode 2, I'm going to preview the AFC West. Now the AFC West is composed of 4 teams: the reigning champion, Kansas City Chiefs; the runner-up, Denver Broncos; the newly formed Las Vegas Raiders; and of course, the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, so I'm going to go a little bit in depth with all 4 of these teams, some of their key additions and key subtractions, along with the schedule for the upcoming 2020 season. So let's dive into it. First up, we have the reigning champion Kansas City Chiefs that unfortunately in heartbreaking fashion had to beat my San Francisco 49ers in the Super Bowl. I give them props. It was a great comeback. However, just know every team is going to be coming for you guys this year. So I think that the Kansas City Chiefs have a very good chance of repeating as Super Bowl champions. They didn't lose any major pieces from their Super Bowl team, other than starting cornerback Kendall Fuller. Last season, their MVP quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, did go down with a leg injury. And so if some kind of freak accident like that happens again, and this just holds true with any team, it's always good to have good insurance in a backup quarterback. Well, the Chiefs also let go of their backup quarterback from last season, Matt Moore. So we hope that no team ever has to go to the backup quarterback, but it's always good to have insurance. 2 big pickups for the Kansas City Chiefs this offseason comes via the NFL draft in the first round, where they selected the running back from the NCAA champion LSU Tigers, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Since the Chiefs did release Kareem Hunt 2 seasons ago, they have been searching for an every down back. And I believe that in the first round of this draft, they did find this every down back that they have been searching for in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Expect for him to have a huge season. Expect for him to have a vital role with this team. Of course, we know that the Chiefs start and stop with their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, but every good team needs to offset their strengths with a good running game. And so expect him to have a big impact. The Chiefs also took a flyer on a former first-round pick from, I believe it was 2017 or 2018, in Taco Charlton. Taco Charlton was originally drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. Last season spent the season with the Miami Dolphins, and now comes over to the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been somewhat of a disappointment, has not lived up to his first-round draft pick billing. However, he has a chance here with the Chiefs to really show that he was worth that first-round grade and pick. And so we'll see how he turns out for these Chiefs. Now, I want to look at the schedule for the Chiefs. Starting off, In week 1, the Kansas City Chiefs host the Houston Texans in the season opener on Thursday Night Football. I predict the Chiefs to win this game and win it by a large margin. It was just a few years ago where the Chiefs had to play the New England Patriots on the season opener and came away with what some people call a surprising victory. Okay, I expect the Chiefs to handle this game without too many troubles and come away with the victory. The following 2 weeks, they hit the road, the first one against the Los Angeles Chargers and the second one against the Baltimore Ravens. The latter one against the Ravens comes on Monday Night Football. I believe they will beat the Chargers in Los Angeles. However, when it comes to going to Baltimore and playing the Ravens on Monday Night Football, I think that they'll get their first loss of the season in week 3 against the Ravens. The following week, they host the New England Patriots, where they'll come away with a win. And the following week after that, they host the newly formed Las Vegas Raiders. They will ultimately come away with a victory against the Raiders as well, before hitting the road, traveling to Buffalo and traveling to Denver to play both the Bills and the Broncos. Unfortunately, I see them losing both of these games. The first one against the Bills, again on Thursday Night Football, and the second one against the Denver Broncos in Denver. So they'll lose both of those games and ultimately have a record of 4-3 halfway through the season. Heading into week 9, they host the New York Jets, where they will win. And in week 10, they host the Carolina Panthers right before their bye week, where again they will win. After the loss to the Denver Broncos, I see the Chiefs really getting into gear, really hitting their strides, and going on a really long streak that's going to carry them the rest of the season and into the playoffs. So heading into the bye week, I have the Chiefs pegged with 6 wins and 3 losses. After the bye week, they host the Las Vegas Raiders on Sunday Night Football, where they will win. Sorry, they don't host the Raiders. They visit Las Vegas and go to the Raiders, where they will win on Sunday Night Football. And the following week, they travel to the East Coast to play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, along with newly acquired quarterback Tom Brady. I believe they will lose this game in Tampa Bay, and this will be their very last loss of the season. The remaining schedule: home against the Broncos on Sunday night, visiting the Miami Dolphins, visiting New Orleans Saints in week 15, hosting the Atlanta Falcons in week 16, and hosting the Los Angeles Chargers in week 17. They will win every one of those games, ending the season on a nice 5-game winning streak, ending the season winning 8 of their last 9 games to carry them into the playoffs, and to finish with a record of 12 wins and 4 losses. Next up, we have the Denver Broncos. Now, the Denver Broncos finished second in their division last year, and I expect them to keep this pace up, okay? I'm expecting big things to come out of the Denver Broncos. We saw big things coming from their first-round pick last year, Drew Lock, and the only thing that they did this offseason was to surround Drew Lock with even more talent, okay? Drew Lock played he finished the season last year, the last 4 or 5 games, playing terrific football, and I expect that to continue this year. They did let go of their starting quarterback at the beginning of last season in Joe Flacco, along with trading away former Pro Bowl cornerback Chris Harris Jr. However, as I said before, they did surround their offense with their quarterback Drew Lock with a lot of talent. Their first 2 picks in the NFL draft were wide receiver Jerry Jeudy from Alabama and wide receiver KJ Hamler in the 2nd round. Both of these will be great additions, along with their current wide receiver Courtland Sutton. I think they will have a formidable wide receiver trio as they try to keep up with the high-flying Kansas City Chiefs. In addition, the Broncos brought in all-pro cornerback AJ Boye from the Jacksonville Jaguars, and interior defensive lineman Jarrell Casey from the Tennessee Titans. I think all around, the Denver Broncos really improved their team, and they're going to be quite an exciting team to watch this coming fall. In addition, they also brought in running back Melvin Gordon from their rival Los Angeles Chargers. So all of these moves were aimed to help their quarterback Drew Lock and to really start letting their offense really start to explode and really take big strides. So like I said, I am expecting big things from the Denver Broncos. I don't think they'll be pushing for a Super Bowl, but they will be pushing for the playoff spot. I don't think they're going to be quite competing with the Kansas City Chiefs, but they should be pretty close to being a wild card team. So let's take a look at their schedule as well. Starting off the season, they host the Tennessee Titans in Week 1 on Monday Night Football. Okay. They host it in Denver against the Titans, where they will win this game. I think it'll be a really close game. I think the Titans will lean heavily on their all-pro running back, Derrick Henry. However, I think Broncos ultimately, with them hosting the game, will come away with the victory. The following week, they travel to Pittsburgh to play the Steelers, where they will face off against the now healthy Ben Roethlisberger, and they will lose this game to the Pittsburgh Steelers. In Week 3, they host, as I mentioned before, Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, where they will lose this game as well. In Week 4, they visit the New York Jets on Thursday Night Football. Now, typically, the home team has a lot better of a chance to win games when it comes to Thursday Night Football. However, I do believe that the Broncos will come away with a victory against the Jets. So 4 weeks into the season, I have them at a record of 2 wins and 2 losses. Next week, in Week 5, they visit the New England Patriots, where they will win against the Patriots. The following week, Week 6, they host the Miami Dolphins, where they will lose to the Dolphins. I'm hoping by this time, if he's not already by the beginning of the season, at this point, we will get to see Tua Tagovailoa for the Miami Dolphins. Okay, this will be an exciting matchup if we have both of these young quarterbacks, Drew Lock and Tua Tagovailoa, battling it out, going head-to-head. Whether it's Tua being quarterback or Ryan Fitzpatrick being quarterback, I do think that Miami Dolphins will win this game. The following week, in Week 7, they get their big surprise victory of the year, where they host the Kansas City Chiefs and they beat the Kansas City Chiefs. This takes them into their bye week in week number 8 with a record of 4 wins and 3 losses. The following 2 weeks after the bye week, in week 9 and week 10, they hit the road and visit the Atlanta Falcons and the Las Vegas Raiders, where they will lose both of these games. The next week, week 11, they play host to the Los Angeles Chargers, where they will win. Next week, week 12, they host Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, where they will lose. And this starts a little bit of a losing streak for the Broncos. Starting with the New Orleans Saints and continuing with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Carolina Panthers, I see them losing all 3 of these games. So the following week against the Chiefs, that is on Sunday Night Football, where they visit Arrowhead Stadium, they lose. And the following week, they visit Carolina Panthers, and they lose this game as well. So heading into week 15, they went on a bit of a losing streak, having lost 5 of their last 6 games. But this is where they finish strong, and they host the Buffalo Bills, where they will win this game. They visit the Los Angeles Chargers, where they will win, and they host the Las Vegas Raiders, where they will win again. So they finished the season on a 3-game winning streak in the hope that that will get them into a playoff spot. However, it won't quite be enough, as the Denver Broncos will finish with a record of 8 wins and 8 losses. 8 wins and 8 losses won't quite get them into the playoffs in a tough AFC conference. But I think we will see a lot of good things coming from the Denver Broncos in this coming season. And I don't believe it's this coming season, but I believe it's the next season where they will ultimately make it to the playoffs and be a really good, formidable opponent. This brings us into our next team. Hopefully an exciting team with the Las Vegas, get ready for it, the Raiders. The Las Vegas Raiders, okay? as we know, highly anticipated moves. They're moving from Oakland to Las Vegas, and they have I guess you could call it a shiny and dark, brand new stadium, SoFi Stadium in the deserts in Las Vegas. It looks great. Like I said, it's shiny, it's black. It almost looks like a spaceship in the middle of the desert. So it should be really cool. It should be really exciting for the Las Vegas Raiders and your Raiders fans. I hope that you guys continue to support your team, and I hope that they do gain a bit of a following out there. I don't know. It will be kind of exciting to see what their fan base looks like as they make this transition into their new stadium in Las Vegas. I believe that the Raiders' offseason was about acquiring talent instead of letting go of talent. The only key player that's actually no longer on their team, and he really wasn't even on their team for quite a while, was Vontaze Burfict. Now, if you're familiar with this, Vontaze Burfict has a long history of being a cheap player. He takes a lot of cheap shots on players, and so last season he did get suspended by the NFL after doing another cheap shot, getting suspended by the NFL, and this really hurt the Raiders team. He was a great linebacker for them in the few games that he played. I think he is a good linebacker. He's just has a stigma of being a dirty player. So he's no longer on the Raiders. However, they did fill in that void by bringing in a great player in Corey Littleton, who comes over from the Los Angeles Rams. Corey Littleton will be tasked with being the quote unquote the quarterback of the defense. Okay, he'll be the signal caller. He'll be in charge of getting everyone in the right place. He will be the man on the Raiders defense. Draft picks. So in the first round, the Raiders made a bit of a surprise pick, in my opinion, when they took Henry Ruggs III out of Alabama for their first pick. There was a lot of other great wide receivers still on the board that they could have went with, but ultimately, in typical Raiders fashion, they wanted the burner, they wanted the speedster, the blazer, so they went with Henry Ruggs III. Like I said, Jerry Jeudy was still on the board. Some of these other wide receivers that they could have taken, but they went with Henry Ruggs III. I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell if this was the right pick. I don't think he's as polished as some of these other wide receivers, but if it's speed they want, then speed they got. Okay. We all know that this is a copycat league, and they're just trying to keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs, who have the great speedster Tyreek Hill. So I think this kind of motivated their pick in taking Ruggs instead of any of the other wide receivers. Their other first-round pick that they acquired last offseason from the Chicago Bears, I guess 2 off seasons ago from the Chicago Bears, in the trade for Khalil Mack, was Damon Arnett, a defensive back from Ohio State. I think with both of these first-round picks, they could help to bring some good playmaking, some good culture to the Las Vegas Raiders. In addition to this, the Raiders brought in a backup quarterback to bring in some quarterback competition with incumbent quarterback Derek Carr. They brought in Marcus Mariota. I think Mariota has talent to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But with the way that things ended in Tennessee, I think this is a good move for the Raiders. Who knows? Maybe he'll push Derek Carr out of the starting position, and he ultimately will be the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. I don't know. We'll see. It all depends on how Carr is going to play this season. They also brought in another wide receiver from the Philadelphia Eagles in Nelson Agholor. I think Agholor is a decent wide receiver. He just has his problems with drops, but he has the potential to be a good, real good pickup for the Raiders as well. So now let's look at the schedule for the Raiders. Unfortunately, Raiders fans, you might want to put on your earmuffs for this, but Week 1, the Las Vegas Raiders travel to the Carolina Panthers, and they lose. Week 2, they host the New Orleans Saints in their brand new stadium in Las Vegas. They host the New Orleans Saints on Monday Night Football, where, again, they will lose. The following week, Week 3, they travel to New England to take on the Patriots, and they lose. The following week, they host the Buffalo Bills, once again in Las Vegas, where they will lose. Week 5, they visit Arrowhead Stadium and take on the Kansas City Chiefs, and they lose again. Probably not what you're hoping for, probably not what you're expecting. In their first 5 games, I have the Las Vegas Raiders losing all 5 of these games going into their bye week. Like I said, this goes back to them bringing in Marcus Mariota as a backup quarterback, and maybe at this point where they really start to take a deep, long look at bringing in Mariota to be their starting quarterback moving forward. I hope not. I think Derek Carr is a viable solution at their quarterback position, but this is where things may get changed up, may get shaken up a little bit with the Raiders. So going into the bye week, they have 5 straight losses. And this is kind of where they start to turn around and, finish with being a decent team. I think that just circumstances, they just weren't facing the correct teams. These are a lot of tough tests for them at the beginning of the season. But with that being said, out of the bye week in week number 7, they host the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Sunday Night Football, Tom Brady and company. They will get their first victory of the season. The following week, week 8, they visit Cleveland and take on the Browns. Again, another exciting team that we'll talk about in a later episode. They will beat the Cleveland Browns in Cleveland before visiting the Los Angeles Chargers in week 9 and ultimately losing to the Chargers. Okay, so they were riding a bit of a feel-good momentum, winning 2 straight games against some good teams before they drop a complete dud of a game where they should be the Chargers, but they ultimately lose to the Chargers. Week 10, again, they turn it around. They host the Denver Broncos, where they beat the Broncos. The following week, week 11, on Sunday Night Football, they host the Kansas City Chiefs, and they lose this game. The following week, they visit Matt Ryan and the Atlanta Falcons, where they lose. And the following week, week 13, they visit New York and take on the Jets, and they lose this game as well. Heading into week 14, I have the Raiders pegged with 3 wins and 9 losses. Okay, definitely no chance at a playoffs at this point, but I think that they will try to finish the season strong. The following week, in week 14, they host the Indianapolis Colts and they win. The following week, they host the Los Angeles Chargers on Thursday Night Football and they win as well. Before dropping their last 2 games of the season, home against the Dolphins and visiting the Denver Broncos, they'll lose both of those games, finishing with a record of 5 wins and 11 losses. Okay, I believe this will signal a real transition period for the Las Vegas Raiders. I believe it is then at this point that Derek Carr will no longer be the starting quarterback for the Las Vegas Raiders. Okay, I'm sorry, Raiders fans. Go ahead, send me some hate mail in the links below. Okay, comment on it. Let me know what you guys think. I'm sorry, but it's gonna be a rough season for you guys. First season in Las Vegas may not be the best. Okay. This brings us to our last and final team in the AFC West, the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, the Los Angeles Chargers. They had a bit of a changing of the guard in their offseason. Out with their incumbent quarterback, who's been a quarterback for the Chargers for past 15, 17 years, Philip Rivers. Philip Rivers is no longer in Los Angeles. He's no longer with the Chargers. It's a bit of a surprise, I know, but he is no longer there. Along with running back Melvin Gordon. Both of those 2 key players that they've had for quite a few years in Los Angeles are no longer going to be with the team. However, they did have a bit of a surprise running back in Austin Eckler last year to really step up. And so they gave him a significant contract, and he will be their running back of the future in this year. So it's not like they're going to miss too much with Melvin Gordon being gone. And at the quarterback position, they did draft in the first round of the NFL draft with the 6th pick, quarterback Justin Herbert out of Oregon. I really like Justin Herbert as a quarterback. I think he's got all the intangibles you look for in a quarterback. He's tall, he has a big arm, he has awareness, all the good things that you like to see out of a quarterback. However, I do not think he will be the starting quarterback for the Los Angeles Chargers come week 1 of the season. I think that job belongs to quarterback Tyrod Taylor. And I think that Taylor will be a good bridge quarterback, much like he was in Cleveland before Baker Mayfield took over the starting quarterback job. Though I do believe by at least midway through the season, at least by the end of the season, Justin Herbert will be the starting quarterback. He won't be the starting quarterback at the beginning of the season, but he will be their starting quarterback by the end of the season. You don't draft a quarterback with the 6th pick, or if that's what it was, whatever it was. You don't draft a quarterback with the 6th pick to not have him be the starting quarterback, okay? So he will be the quarterback of the future. He will be the quarterback of this team at some point this season. Along with Justin Herbert, they did have another first-round pick where they took Kenneth Murray, a linebacker out of Oklahoma. And they did bring in a interior lineman, defensive tackle, Linval Joseph from the Minnesota Vikings. I think that's a great pickup. Joseph has been a part of a defensive line in Minnesota that has really been a strong point, a strong part of that Vikings team for the past almost a decade now. So that is a good pickup by the Chargers. We'll see how that goes. They also did swing a trade. They traded their offensive tackle, Russell Okung, for a guard in Trey Turner to the Panthers. So they just kind of swapped offensive linemen. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but that is somewhat significant. Okay, Russell Okung has been with the Chargers for a couple of seasons now, so it's going to be a little bit different, okay? Now, if you're here hoping that I'm going to tell you that the Chargers are going to have a great season, then I'm sorry, you might want to end this now, because it's not going to be a good season for the Chargers, okay? They had a bit of a change in the guard. It's going to take a season or two for them to really get their feet underneath them. So without further ado, let's actually look at their season. Let's look at their schedule. Okay. The Los Angeles Chargers, much like the Las Vegas Raiders, the Chargers start their season with a bunch of losses. Week 1, they visit the Cincinnati Bengals, aka rookie quarterback Joe Burrow. They'll lose that game. The following week, they host the Kansas City Chiefs, lose that game. The following week, week 3, they host the Carolina Panthers. They lose that game as well. Week 4, they visit Tampa Bay on the East Coast and Tom Brady. They lose that game. Week 5, they visit Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. They lose that game as well. That game is, by the way, on Monday Night Football. And in week 6, they host the New York Jets and they lose this game as well. If it hasn't already happened by now, at this point, the Chargers will make this transition to Justin Herbert being their quarterback. If their season really does start with 6 straight losses, this quarterback change may happen earlier. But at least by this point, by this Jets game, when they lose the Jets, they lose to a team that they probably shouldn't lose to. I don't think the Jets are going to have a very good season either. If they lose this game and they are not having a good season so far, they will make this change to the quarterback Justin Herbert at this point. Herbert follows with Justin Herbert now taking over the reins. They start a string of 3 straight victories. And in week 7, they travel to Miami Dolphins and they win this game. I'm hoping this is going to be a matchup of 2 rookie quarterbacks, Justin Herbert versus Tua Tagovailoa. I think it's Justin Herbert that will have the upper hand, and he'll beat the Miami Dolphins. The following week, week 8, they host the Jacksonville Jaguars and they beat the Jaguars. Week 9, they host the Las Vegas Raiders and they beat the Las Vegas Raiders as well. So with Herbert now at quarterback, they win 3 straight games heading into their bye week. Unfortunately, when you're on a good win streak like this is not when you want to go into a bye week. And it's this bye week that's going to ultimately change the course of their season. Coming out of the bye week in week 11, they visit Denver Broncos and they lose that game. The following week, they go to Buffalo to take on the Bills and they lose that game as well. And in week 13, they host New England Patriots and they lose that game as well. So after 3 straight victories before their bye week, after their bye week, they have 3 straight losses. After those 3 straight losses, in typical Atlanta Falcons fashion, they host the Falcons and they beat the Atlanta Falcons. The following week on Thursday Night Football, they travel to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders and they lose that game against the Raiders, as well as the next 2 games, home against the Broncos and visiting the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, so some might say this is going to be a bit of a streaky team this year, where they start the season with 6 straight losses, follow that up with 3 straight wins, follow that up with 3 straight losses, and end the season again on 3 straight losses. So overall, I predict the Los Angeles Chargers to have 4 victories this season and 12 losses. They'll finish the season with a record of 4 wins and 12 losses. Again, the Los Angeles Chargers are in a bit of a transition time. So, I think that's perfectly fine. They'll have a top pick next year. to really help out their quarterback, Justin Herbert, on the offensive side, if that's what they see, or maybe they continue to build their defense. Okay. Like I said, it'll be about a year or two before the Los Angeles Chargers are back to relevancy. I don't think this is going to be a good season for them, but it will be a good season to evaluate talent, evaluate their quarterback in Justin Herbert. Okay. So with that being said, this is the AFC West. We have the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that I'm pretty spot on with these picks? Do you guys think that the Chiefs are going to be a Super Bowl team again this year? What do you guys think? Drop some comments below. Let's talk. Let's have a chat. Okay. Thank you so much for listening. This is episode 2. And please, once again, if you do like this, if you are a fan, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time. This has been another show by Randall Handles Football. See you guys next time.
I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field position to set up touchdowns, you ain't gonna beat anybody I just talked about. Anybody. All right? And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.